Good morning. We're going to call the regular council meeting of June 12th to order. We'll start off with open mic, and I have Owen to start us off. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm sure you guys have heard this before, but I'm just looking at my taxes here. Can somebody just break down? I pay $5,100.
Just make sure you're speaking into the mic, please.
Yeah. Yep. I pay $5,100 a year. I'd just like to know, what does $5,100 go to? Where does that go? What am I paying for? In regards to that, I pay that, is it paying for something? Like, what does it pay?
Sorry, if...
I pay $5,100.
Yes.
So where does that money go?
It would go to everything that the city provides for services.
Okay, so what would that provide? What do you guys provide, I guess, is the question.
Do we have the breakdown of that pie chart?
You don't have to break it down, just simple.
No, we will. Our city has a breakdown of what percentage of your taxes go to certain services in the city. Perfect. So I'll have my administration get that for you. If you just leave them your other contact information, phone number, or an email address, and they can send that over to you.
Okay, so does it go to like sidewalks?
Yep.
Roads,
yep.
Plumbing, sewer? So if I live in a place where I don't have water, sewer, sidewalks, or roads, why am I getting charged this kind of money?
They'll have the breakdown for you. And so in March, when your assessment goes out, that's when you're able to come back to the city and say, no, I don't feel my property is worth this much money.
It's not about the value.
No, but that's how your taxes are assessed, right? So based on the value of your house, and then the services that you're provided. So the roads that you drove in on today, within the city of Wetaskiwin, are part of what you pay for taxes. 100%. You have fire protection, you have RCMP protection.
Wait, that's the problem too. I live in a location where I pay extra for insurance because I don't have a hydrant close enough to my property.
Mm-hmm. But you still have fire that's going to respond to your house.
You guys do not provide me water, sewer, sidewalks for my kids to get to by the lake park or get to the city. So I'm just wondering what I'm paying for. Like, can somebody justify that?
Yeah, so like I said, administration will give you the breakdown of what it is.
I've been down this road before, and I still have not got an answer for the property beside me that supposedly did not have a work permit, and nobody's got back to me. Everybody says they're going to get back to me, so you're going to provide me with that information. And then where do we go? Do I get more of the same rhetoric? That's what I'm asking. Justify this money. I don't have water. I have to pay for a well. Do you guys going to fix my well when it breaks down?
No, the money that so there's money that's charged on your utility bill that looks under after the underground infrastructure that leads to that. So your water and your sewer. I know that you don't pay that, so you're not paying that in terms of what you're paying for in your utility bill to look after the utilities that are coming to your property.
What am I paying for? Come look at this, Mr. Mayor, and tell me what I pay taxes for. I have a gravel road. I don't get water. I don't have sewer. I don't have a fire hydrant within location to provide me with the proper protection.
Right, all of which that weren't in place when you purchased the property.
Yeah, I get that. So, but why am I paying? What am I paying for? Am I paying for your water? Or your water? Or your water? Or your sewer? What am I paying for?
The city will get back to you on a breakdown of what your taxes cover in the city.
You guys will always get back to me. I've been waiting for a year on the other issue.
So you and I had talked probably close to 2 years ago.
100% we did,
yeah.
And nobody's got back to me.
So did you follow up with me like I'd asked you to if nobody got back to you?
I believe I did.
No, you didn't. Because if
Do you
city...
want me to?
No.
Okay, I'll get up. When we're done this, I'll call you back.
Absolutely. So when you and I had talked and you had a concern about the city not getting back to you, I had said that if the city doesn't get back to you, to contact me again so that I can ensure that it did happen. But I didn't hear from you, so I assumed that the city got back to you. Okay. There's nothing that I can do if the city's not getting back to you if I don't know about it.
Okay, but again, what am I paying for?
And again,
I'm paying for somebody else's infrastructure.
No, you're paying for, part of that is the infrastructure within the city. Again, the roads that you drove in 100%. On, the fire protection that's provided here, the RCMP protection.
Listen,
there is fire protection, because if you call for the fire department, the fire truck is going to show up at your house.
Fire protection requires a fire hydrant within so many meters. Why am I paying extra for insurance? Because there's not a fire hydrant within
Right,
the
but
current
there's still
location.
going to be a fire truck that shows up at your house,
Well, that's good.
which is part of what you pay for with your city
Yeah, and a fire truck only has
taxes.
so much water.
Yeah, I'm well aware.
Yeah, yeah. So, but a fire hydrant has lots of water. So it's supposed to be within a location that provides me with the fire protection. You guys are not providing that. You're not providing me water, you're not providing me sewer. You
So
don't
you're not
come out
getting,
and fix
you're
my-
not getting the utility bill for water or sewer.
So what, I talk to lots of people who live in the city, they pay about less than I do, but I have none of the amenities that you guys say you provide. I got a gravel road that you can barely clear.
Taxation is based on the assessment of your property. So again, if you're not getting the value for your taxes or any of those amenities that weren't there when you purchased the house, then that would have been the conversation I had prior to purchasing the house.
Okay, so you're not willing to do anything about it?
What would you like me to do?
I don't know. I would say we don't provide you with water.
So you
So I
don't get
gotta have
a, so you don't get a, so you don't get a water bill.
So I don't get a water bill. And a sewer.
Okay, so do you get a sewer bill? From the city?
Not that I know of, I just look at,
Okay, so you're not getting charged for services that you don't have.
I can only imagine my bill if I was provided those services. That'd be incredible. So I'm getting $5,100, and what am I paying for? Is it for the Manlook Center, or is it for other people's?
That's absolutely part of it, yep.
So how much of it?
Like I said, the city administration will get back to you on a breakdown of what your taxes pay for.
Okay, so I'll wait and wait and wait and wait.
And if the city doesn't get back to you, like I told you before, let me know so that I can
Yeah,
follow up with administration.
Yeah, Mr. Ganem, I've had a conversation with you, and you were kind of ignorant one time, so.
Pardon me?
You were kind of ignorant one time when I talked to you. Yeah, you were, so. It's just a question. Can somebody justify what I'm paying for?
Thanks very much for your time. That's your 5 minutes with the open mic.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. So no questions for you.
Have a good day. Looking for an adoption of the agenda. Do we have any other items that we need to add? Councillor Nielsen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to add two items. Manlock Aquatic Center landscaping and City Council transparency.
Manlock Aquatic Landscaping will be 15A, and Council Transparency will be 15B.
Thank you.
Anything further? Anything from administration? So for 15A, adding it to the agenda, those in favor? Carried. 15B, Council Transparency, those in favor? Carried unanimously. Looking for an approval of the agenda as amended.
So
Councillor
moved.
Billingsley, those in favor? Carried unanimously. I can't do, if there's just a spelling mistake in the minutes, that doesn't have to be an amendment, does it?
Through the chair, we could do that administratively, just let us know.
Okay, just then, there's a spelling mistake for Sarah Pronto, last name P-A-R-E-N-T-A-U. I think it's T-E-D-D in the minutes. No problem. So item 6, consent agenda. Councillor Blatz, those in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 8A, we have delegations, big band barrel race. Haven't seen them, okay. Item 8B, we have connect Wetaskiwin and an update.
I'm gonna feel like I have bodyguards.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Natalie. This is Sue and Jeanette, and we are Connect Wetaskiwin. So we're a grassroots community group in town here, invested in community connection and community engagement. So last week we had the opportunity to co-host a conference with St. Albert for about 160 people from all over the world, which was really amazing. The topic of the conference was when communities and municipalities meet in the middle. And I think between our awesome representation and the mayor's welcoming speech that everybody at the conference left with really good feelings about Wetaskiwin. So part of that conference was the creation of a digital video to share our story, sort of where we came from and where we're going from Sue's perspective, but I think she spoke for all of us. And so we wanted to share that video with our community and with you guys today. It's my finger guns for Juanita.
2 years ago, when we moved to Wetaskiwin, if someone would have told me I would be volunteering at our local soup kitchen, or that I would become very engaged with our community by stepping up to take some training on asset-based community development, or that I would use the art form of felting to bring people together to talk about what truth and reconciliation meant to them, I would have thought they were nuts. I honestly thought there was no way. Connect Wetaskiwin. If you've ever gone through the process of moving to a new community or going to a new school, then we already have something in common. Navigating all the newness, all the awkward moments of meeting people, making connections, and finding our place within the community. A little about myself. My name is Sue Newman. I married my best friend 43 years ago. Together we have 2 wonderful children, but I'm still waiting to be grandma. The first 18 years of my career journey was with CN Rail. Then in 2000, my husband and I opened a flooring store. I soon discovered that the majority of our customers really needed and wanted help. So at 40, I went back to school and studied residential interiors at the University of Alberta. I genuinely wanted to help people, which is where my success came from. After 2 months and approximately 8,000 highway kilometers of house shopping, an unexpected drive through Wetaskiwin caught our hearts. With all the boxes ticked, close to amenities including hospital and airport, we felt that Wetaskiwin found us. This perfect small town feel welcomed us, and the people were all so friendly. Wetaskiwin felt like home. We couldn't believe that after all the traveled miles, we found our place only an hour from where we were moving from. We were on cloud 9. Unfortunately, it didn't take long for us to discover that Wetaskiwin was a divided community. It made me feel very sad. I was shocked by so much negativity evidenced on social media. I remember thinking, who are these people? Are they for real? The more I read, the more I felt the need to step up. I remember saying to myself, time to get off your butt, Sue, and go do something. I knew standing by the sidelines was not going to accomplish anything. But first, I had to really learn and understand the issues that were fueling residents with such anger. I mean, we had only lived in Wetaskiwin less than 2 months at this point. Sure enough, a webinar with city officials brought forth the many issues in Wetaskiwin: the homelessness, the crime, the addictions, the generational trauma, along with a heartfelt cry for help. I think you can probably guess what happened next. Oh, I was so nervous and completely out of my comfort zone at the first in-person meeting. I didn't know anyone. I thought all these organization and agency representatives and me as a new community resident, what could I do? Well, it turns out I had way more to offer than I thought. My innate compassion led me, my problem-solving skills encouraged me, and I knew by simply listening and learning, I could find ways to help. So I joined in with a group of volunteers who wanted to help solve the homelessness issue that was plaguing our community. In the wake of volunteering, an opportunity came up for training. This time, it was from an organization called Tamarack Institute. I had no idea who they were, what the significance of asset mapping was, or what ABCD even stood for. But I figured It fits with my lifelong learning, and if it would be helpful for the community, I'm in. So another Zoom call with about 10 people and a new person named Heather Keem were on the screen. I had met a couple of the people before, but most were new faces. We were introducing ourselves to Tamarack, but really, it was an introduction to everyone. Once again, my nerves, emotions, and compassion for the community were at the surface. What have I committed to? How can I be helpful compared to all these people with big degrees and years of experience? Yeah, I felt intimidated. Then the ball started to roll. We were making progress, rediscovering the wonderful assets in and around Wetaskiwin. The people, the places, and the passions were coming to light, and I could see how this training experience was going to prove to be a valuable tool in drawing people together. A month in, our group was crushed when our lead municipal supporter pulled out. Now what? Feeling frustrated, our small group rallied and determined this opportunity was not going to slip away. With 5 core members left, we made a pact to keep each other going, and Connect Wetaskiwin was born. In May 22, we held our first community meeting sharing our newly developed knowledge of connecting. It was a fabulous turnout, and we had great feedback from attendees, many of whom underscored, yes, this is what Wetaskiwin needs. We were pumped, and I was so proud to be part of this movement. Still am. By the fall, we were starting to look at funding to help us along. Up to this point, we had small community sponsorships, but we needed more. So off to City Council I went, along with those nerves, emotions, and compassion to explain who Connect Wetaskiwin was and what we were trying to achieve. It was encouraging that Council also recognized the need for a resident-led group like us. We were successful. More people learned about Connect Wetaskiwin, and we now had some money coming in. Let's go. Time to open the bank account. All this positive feedback and encouragement fueled me to keep going. I knew we were onto something good for the city, and we were just getting started. Our small group has since had many community engagements, from small focus groups, meetings, and one-on-one conversations. It has been inspiring to be part of the connections being made. In a short time frame, only 3 months, we've reached our goal of nearly 100 responses to our community survey. We've collaborated with more groups than we even knew existed in Wetaskiwin, and now we are being recognized as the group that has been positively influencing our community. I'm very proud and very grateful to be part of Connect Wetaskiwin. It has been an incredible experience getting to know each other. We are all so different, yet have so much common interest. I've made friendships and connections that I know wouldn't have been made without this experience. We are all here with the same goal, people helping people, or, in Tamarack's words, by us, for us. In closing, my words of encouragement to others. It can feel hard to step out of your comfort zone, but it is so worth it. Get involved, use your gifts, use your skills, use your passions, be vulnerable. I think you'll be happy you did.
Great job.
They don't like to talk. So yeah, that's and a shout out to Catherine who helped make that video. She's not here today, but yeah. Do you have questions or? Oh.
Go ahead, Councillor Blatz.
Thank you. Through the chair to Connect Wetaskiwin. Incredible work. I am so excited by this because it's just, it's exactly what, yeah, it's just exactly what I love. It's like the community coming together, trying to find solutions to problems and connecting everybody together. And you guys are doing incredible work, and I'm really proud of you guys.
Councillor Aberley.
I'll move that City Council accepts the presentation from Connect Wetaskiwin as information. And then I will say, I have spoken to Sue before, and she knows this, because when we first got the video, I was expecting it. She had told me about it. I see her in another aspect of my life weekly. But I also know this group for a long time. We've been on and off working together and doing certain things. And I always knew you were amazing as a group. And I'm just so excited that 150 people from across the world can see the passion and the power in you. And I hope that that gives you the strength and the encouragement, because I know you need it too. And I said to Sue one day, because you guys had sent a letter to council and given us one of your felting projects, and I think of that often when we get beaten down or complaints, and sometimes it's hard to do the job. And I said to Sue that it really helps me go, and it sits in our chamber rooms, and I often look at it in hard times, because I know that we're not alone in this. Our community is with us, and you guys are just showing that to us as well. So thank you very much. Yeah. And then when I met you this morning, or when I saw you this morning, I want to give you an opportunity to just say some of the things that you took from the conference last week, because it was so important for you, but I think it's going to have such an impact on this community.
So I am an emotional person. I guess that's the passion in me coming out. But yeah, thank you, Karen. The community it was a 3-day conference, and Jeanette and I attended 2 of the 3 days. And there was such a common theme at the conference that communities need to work together. We need to step in each other's comfort zones in a way. And it was just really an underscoring, thanks Juanita, underscoring that we are on the right track. And it is hard. It takes a lot of energy, and we sure wish that there was more people attending and responding to our surveys and so on. But we just have to remind ourselves, one person a week that joins our Facebook page, or somebody that is touched by little Connect buddies, that just carries us so far. So, yeah, I just think right now, if council is to help us in any way, it's to help us spread the word about what we're doing and to try and get the survey completed. Nat's been doing a great job looking at the trends that the survey is showing so far. We hope to have a celebration showing these findings later on in the fall. And then this summer you can expect to see us at the Canada Day Parade. We're going to be walking. And the Arts and Crafts Festival, July 15th. And then the Children's Festival, August 19th. So, and we'll have community events, our community projects going on, giveaways, and just getting people to get to know us and recognize us as just humans, just like you guys. And we're all looking for the good of the community.
Thank you very much.
So, Karen, just to answer the rest of your question, the conference was called When Communities and Municipalities Meet in the Middle. I think that was the name of it. And I wanted to share, like, one of the really neat things about it was that we got to kind of break off a little bit into groups. And so we had municipalities, a group representing municipalities, a group representing nonprofits, and a group representing communities. And we just talked about what our interests were in the community, and it really helped us to understand that we can't sit around and wait for the government to fix everything, and that municipalities and cities and organizations are sort of bound by their own kind of terms of reference or bylaws or whatever you call it, and that it really underscored the need for us as citizens to come up with solutions, to work together to come up with solutions, and that actually connection is one of the major solutions that can bring us all together and help us to collectively work towards solving some of our issues. So that was just another really great takeaway from our conference. Thanks. Anything else? Any other questions? No?
Nope, please keep up the great work. I hope that some of the networking you got out of the conference helps re-energize you. I know that it can be pretty taxing doing the work here and not maybe seeing the benefits or the growth that you'd like to have seen, but remember that it's a small minority that likes to vocalize, and the larger majority who don't say much are probably very grateful for the work that you're doing, and I know that I'm very grateful for the work that you're doing, so thank you very much.
So we'll see you guys at our meetings, right?
Keep sharing on my mayor's page so that the word can get out a little bit better. Good. Thank you. Anything further? Ready for the question? Those in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 9, moving into committee of the whole, staff reports for information.
Good morning, Council. Today, I have come back, I guess, with an information request from Mayor Gandam requesting information on the ownership of 2 parcels of land within the city of Wetaskiwin, one at 225 Garnet Crescent and one at 168 Garwood Crescent. So in looking at our information that we have, the 225 Garnet Crescent is the west entrance and 168 Garwood Crescent is the east entrance to Garden Meadows Park. There's a storm sewer that also runs through the park, which is also in attachment 1. And the city of Wetaskiwin does own both of those parcels. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
For a motion to accept as information, Councillor Aberley.
I move that council accepts this 225 Garnet Crescent and 168 Garwood Crescent ownership report as information.
The property on Garnet, would it be wide enough to, well, I guess, how much would it cost, or is it expensive to move that storm main line to the side of the property?
To the mayor, I'd have to do some cost estimates on that and look how deep that sewer is. The one thing, excuse me, if there was going to be put that into a residential property, we would still require a 3-meter easement, so you would not be able to construct anything within that area as well. So it would be a little bit challenging to put a residential property on that.
Okay. I think I'll add to new business, or I'll ask to add to new business, deeming the Garwood property as surplus. And we can have that discussion then. If there's anything further, ready for the question. Those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 10, staff reports for decisions, city snowblower funding request. Good morning.
Good morning. The city currently operates 2 loader-mounted snow blowers. These snow blowers are quite large. They're would be about the size of the center portion of that upper desk that the mayor is sitting in. Each snowblower has an engine on its own, a large diesel engine, and they are mounted on the front of a large wheel loader. When the city gets a lot of snow, the grader comes along and grades the snow into windrows, and then the snowblowers go along and pick up that snow and put them into dump trucks, and the city hauls that snow away so it doesn't accumulate and back up. Currently, both of the city snow blowers are inoperable. One requires electrical components, which is the control panel and the modules connected to that. It needs to be replaced and updated. The other one, if you saw the pictures, has large, there's the picture right there, has large kind of a rear differential component to it that drives the from the engine down to the turbines or to the blades, and it's inoperable right now as well. So we have some time yet to get these operational before we get into the winter season. Both would require some capital repairs to make them operational. We could look at purchasing a new unit, and that option we put in here. The problem with a new unit is we are likely into 2025 before a delivery of a new unit. And this is quite common with a lot of the specialty units right now. We were talking to another municipality last week that was ordering some street sweepers, and they said it was over 25 months delivery for some street sweepers. So, you know, the option is there for a new unit. I think city administration would prefer to go to repair the existing units. The oldest one is approximately 15 years old. The life cycle on these units should be between 15 and 20 years old if they're maintained properly. So we do have some life on the oldest unit yet. So my recommendation would be to do the capital repairs on these units. If we purchased a new unit, we would still have to get at least one of these units operational for the winter season, because a new one wouldn't arrive probably until the winter of 24-25. So, any questions?
Go ahead, Councillor Billingsley.
I move that City Council approve the spending up to $118,000 from the equipment pool reserve for the repair of existing loader-mounted snow blowers, unit numbers 217 and 219.
Moved by Councillor Billingsley. Go ahead.
So, question through the chair to administration would be, do we not have a plan in place of replacement of equipment? So in other words, you had said that we were 15 to 20 years. So obviously, we're going to have to plan ahead, and for a couple of reasons. One, to budget, and two, to make sure that we're able to get product that we're going to need. So do we not have a plan in place for future purchases of said equipment?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley. I am 3 months into this new position. I have a lot of fleet and equipment experience, and we're developing those plans now and working with the general manager of my division. We're actually planning to come back to council to show the development of the plans fairly soon this summer, and to show where we're at in developing a number of plans so that we have that laid out long term. Right now, unfortunately, we're kind of playing catch up on a few things.
I understand. Thank you.
Anything further? Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to administration. How old is the newer machine?
Through the chair to Councillor Elliott. The newer machine is about 9 years old. It's slightly smaller than the older machine, so it's not the first choice. If the snowfall is light, then Public Works would use one machine only. If it's a heavy snowfall and there's a lot of snow to pick up, then that's when they would use both machines. So they always use the bigger, older machine first. It's a little bit more efficient.
So if they are repaired, would there be a trade-in value if the decision was made to purchase a new machine? Would there be a trade-in value if these were repaired? Would somebody else want them?
I have checked on that, and the trade-ins are pretty rare. Most municipalities, when they want something like this, then they purchase it new because of various reasons, warranties, and it's a new machine. So to buy a used unit from a dealer is rare. Most machines are just disposed of at that 15, 20-year mark through auction.
And just to follow up on Councillor Billingsley's question, at one time, there was a list of all the equipment that the city had, and when it was purchased, what its purchase price was, what the life expectancy was, when it would be traded off or sold to somebody else. And there was a whole list of every piece of equipment that the city had. That doesn't exist anymore?
We have that list, and what we're trying to do now is, like Councillor Billingsley said, is refine it so that, for example, if there are 15 units that now need to be replaced in 2025, we're not coming to council that all 15 units. We're trying to develop the list so that maybe you purchase 5 in 2024, 5 in 2025, and 25 in 2026. So that's spread out and better for budgeting purposes. So right now we're currently in the middle of a fleet evaluation where every unit in the city is being inspected and graded, and then that will help us to develop, in addition to the age of the unit, an actual physical condition report. So we're doing that as well.
Okay. And just, if these two machines are fixed, how much longer what's the life expectancy after they're repaired?
The older machine, I expect it to last at least another 5 years, and the newer, smaller machine should make that 15 to 20-year life cycle as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anything further? Ready for the question? Those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Item 10B, budget engagement options. Good morning.
Good morning. So the intent of this RFD is to present council with two options for the 2024 budget engagement sessions or process and get direction on the preferred engagement plan. So the two options we have, so we are presenting two options. The first one is an online survey with 2 town hall sessions. So the approximate cost for that one is $1,500 for refreshments and advertising and anything else. Option 1 employs a combination of an online survey to be hosted on What If Wetaskiwin with 2 in-person town hall sessions. The combination of online engagement and in-person engagement allows for increased accessibility for those who may be interested in participating in one engagement method but not the other. Having the online survey option increases the opportunities for everyone to get involved in budget engagement. Whereas option 2 is a statistically relevant survey, 1 online survey, and then 1 town hall session, and that costs approximately $30,000 after GST. In comparison to option 1, option 2 provides a more intensive approach by combining a general online survey, statistically relevant survey, and 1 town hall engagement session. The statistically relevant survey provides accurate data and insight into the priorities and concerns of the community, which can help elected officials make informed decisions about the budget. Statistically relevant surveys, however, do limit who can complete the survey, as they employ a telephone survey method to collect information that is fully random. Therefore, to ensure that everyone in the community can share their thoughts on the budget, the city would run an additional online general survey, also through What If Wetaskiwin, for those not selected to participate in the phone survey. To increase accessibility, the city would also host 1 town hall engagement session, which would be obviously held in addition to allow those who prefer in-person engagement an avenue to discuss the budget with council and administration. This approach is significantly more expensive than option 1, as it requires the hiring of an external contractor who specializes in statistically relevant surveys, and they have the tools to do those phone surveys. Therefore, administration is recommending option 1 just due to the cost. Due to the cost, accessibility, the fact that we can do it in-house.
Mr. Mayor, I would move that City Council directs administration to develop and execute an engagement plan for 2024 budget consultation that uses the strategies as outlined in budget engagement option 1.
Moved by Councillor Elliott. Any discussion? Go ahead.
I'd just like to say that we could also have more than 2 town hall meetings if we chose, if there's interest. I just think, Mr. Mayor, that what we're going to get statistically from spending $30,000 is really not going to change a lot, but getting town hall meetings and allowing people to actually come face to face is much more efficient and effective. Thank you.
Councillor Aberley.
Thank you, Mayor Gandam. Through the chair to administration, can you give me a little bit of information on, not success, I don't mean that word, on the types of information that have come back when you were doing your research for other the statistics surveys? Is the levels of research in other communities that used it? I know we talked about it once.
Through the chair to Councillor Aberley, I think, can you repeat? I'm not quite sure.
So we had spoken once about looking at what kind of information comes out of the statistically, I can't even, because we're in the same thing, what information comes out and other communities that have used it. You had a couple examples and I just don't have them on me.
Thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Aberley. So typically, municipalities, when they do statistically relevant surveys, because of the cost, they're typically using them for citizen satisfaction surveys. And so the questions like that can look really depending on how the municipality wants them to look. So something like asking citizens how happy they are with like a certain level of service. And then you can also add different questions about like, what would you want to increase the allocation of that service? Would you be willing to pay more for that service? Like, it really depends. So I've seen it done a couple different ways, because you can make these surveys so they are asking like really budget forward questions, or you can kind of make it so they're asking more about like services, and then you can use that information, some municipalities have, to make kind of like inference decisions kind of based on that info. It's not as explicit, so.
And then in your opinion, am I correct that in your opinion, they were not providing more information than what we're finding from, say, the online surveys?
I just don't want to generalize it.
Yeah, and I think the reason I'm just bringing this up is we had spoken about it, and I had said how much I like statistics and how I would love to make my decisions based on that, but I will be in favor of this motion, because when the other conversations were happening and that was going, I got the understanding that the $30,000 wasn't giving us the statistics that we actually needed to know that this is where taxpayers want their taxes to go, as an example, because the questions can be leading and the questions can direct that way. So I just making sure that I'm understanding what was spoken before.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Aberley too. Using a statistically relevant survey for budget specifically, like, I think that's kind of narrowing the scope, especially when municipalities typically use it for citizen satisfaction. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? Go ahead, Councillor Blatz.
Through the chair, I was just curious, so for the online survey, we did this last year, right? Or is this new?
Through the chair to Councillor Blatz, this is new.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And like, do we anticipate it to be kind of like what we did before with the online tool for budgeting, or is this a completely new concept?
Through the chair to Councillor Blacks, this is a completely new concept. When we were doing the online element last year, the budget engagement tool, it can be difficult to use. So while it's a useful tool, we think that this approach will lend itself to people actually, like, it's more accessible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anything further? I was more in favor of option 2. I think at the height of getting public engagement for in person, we saw about 60 people through 4 or 5 different budget sessions, and not including the ones that came multiple times, was a representation of 0.4% of our population to give council the information that they need to manage a $35 million budget. I hear regularly that we don't do a good job budgeting or with fiscal responsibility. And I think that if we give the community more of an opportunity to give their input while changing how we do things, again, if we always do what we always did, we were going to get what we always got. So I would be more in favor of option 2. I will not vote in favor of option 1. And see if we can't change our public engagement. Anything further? Ready for the question? Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thanks very much. Item 10C, budget engagement options.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Sorry, not budget engagement options, budget schedule approval.
I knew it was me next, so I just started.
I thought if I could run it by everybody again, maybe they'd change their mind.
Okay, administration is looking for approval from council for the schedule and process for the 2024 budget. So we have the dates outlined within the document. September 11th, outside agencies would be presenting to council, both their operating and any capital budget requests. The same day you would receive your council binders. September 25th, the draft budget presented to council. Between the 26th and 15th would be public engagement. The 16th to 18th of October would be budget deliberations for council and final approval on November 27th. We're also asking council to submit, as in previous years, any business case requests that you have to us by June 30th. I can send those templates out again to remind you, or you could just send in your comments to me and I can put them in the templates, and then staff could start pulling together costs. We will be applying inflation adjustments to line items that require it, which will be identified in each department's presentation. The presentations will be similar to the 2022 process and will align with each budget's work programs through PBB. And we will include the PowerPoint presentations this year in your binders. Hopefully that will answer some of the questions that were coming in after. We will still follow the budget information request, so if you send in a request, we'll put it into the system and staff will have 2 days to get you back an answer. Those questions and answers will also be published on our budget website. So we are just looking for approval on the schedule and the process. If council wants to give any further direction as far as a targeted tax rate, etc., we would be open to those conversations.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have informed administration and council that I will be away until the 18th of September, so I would not be available during the outside agencies presentations. And that would be fine with me if that's okay with council, but I would like to be available, or I guess I could just get them out of my binder and read them when it comes time. Thank you.
What does it do to change the date to September 25th for the presentations? And then at least our new counselor has a full month under their belt.
Through the chair, yeah, we could switch that to the 25th.
Councillor Billingsley?
I move that City Council approves the 2024 budget schedule as amended.
The amendment being switching the presentation to September 25th?
Correct, and I'd like to speak to that. Because I have concerns, I sit on the library and FCSS. They don't meet much, if at all, during the summer, and they're going to need some time to get their presentation. I don't know. I guess my question then will be to administration, when will these organizations be notified that they need to have this ready? And my concern is, will they have enough time to have this ready by that time if the boards aren't meeting during the summer?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, as soon as council approves the process and timelines, we would let the outside agencies know.
Thank you.
Councillor Aberley.
Thank you, Mayor Gandam. Through the chair to Sue, I just have a quick question, and I may be being a little too picky. It's just the public engagement goes to October 15th, and then we start the deliberations on the next day. And so it was just that questioning of having, if there's the tools, getting that information back to me before I have to start making deliberations. Like, I just was wondering that timeline, if it was too short. Does it make sense?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Aberley, I believe the presentation said we would not be summarizing the information. Did it?
Yeah, I can speak to that. Through the chair to Councillor Aberley, we will be summarizing the online survey. We expect the survey to be closed October 8th, a summary to be to council by October 11th, 12th, or 13th. But the town halls will not be summarized like they weren't last year. It'll be for council to come and listen and get the feedback that they receive when they're there.
Perfect, thank you.
Anything further? Approving the budget dates as amended, switching from September 11th to September 25th for the outside agencies. Ready for the question? Those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Item 12, amending traffic bylaw 1893-17. Good morning, Sergeant.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. How are you today?
Wonderful. How are you?
Good. All right. So I'm here before we're just going to do recommending some administrative changes to our current traffic bylaw. Those changes are in section 42 and 49, and it's just in the RFD. Do you want to go over what the changes are?
Yeah, they've been, yeah.
All right, so basically, the two changes are basically in regards mostly to special events requiring road closures, and that pertains to parades and processions. So what we're looking to amend in section 42, sub 1, sub 2, is just to replace city council with city manager or their designated representative. So basically just reduces some of the red tape for road closures. And then section 41, sub 1, sub 3, basically same thing, it's just special events requiring road closure parades. Remove the word city council and city engineer, and then again replace it with city manager or their designated representative. Then in section 42, sub 2, there's a paragraph in there. Just go to that, just to make sure I get it right. So yeah, basically this is regards to permit applications. So in there, it has that the city manager can approve at least 10 days prior to the date of the intended parade or procession by way of a formal application. We just want to remove that the city council portion that requires 25 days. So again, just make it more accessible to community events so they can get their road closures without having to come to council and coming about a month out. Just gets them down to 10 days, and again, only have to going through administration to get that road closure. And then since we were looking at the bylaw, section 49, that was just, again, administrative change, and it basically vending goods on a highway, and it was in regards to newspaper vendors, so your newspaper boxes. We just removed city council, and that the city manager can give approval to put boxes on city property and stuff like that. So just more of a, again, administrative cleanup. So that's just the two sections that we're dealing with in the bylaw. Again, just changing that the city manager or their designate can approve road closures and permits and that the city doesn't have to come before city council anymore, so just reducing some red tape. Open for any questions?
Councillor Aberley.
I move that City Council gives first reading to the amending traffic bylaw 2036-23.
Moved by Councillor Aberley.
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. I liked this when I saw it come across my desk, and do believe that it will help community groups in their desires to bring things into the community for us, so thank you.
Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the administration, will council still be notified of these, though, so we don't miss any events? Like if somebody wants to put on the parade for Canada Day, and they want Main Street closed, would we just so we're informed as to what's happening? Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Elliott, yes, typically they will want to invite council anyway, so we would encourage them to come to a council meeting, and if they choose not to, then the letter request would be included in council's correspondence package.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Billingsley.
Thank you. Through the chair to administration, when this amending the traffic bylaw, was Schedule A looked at all, or any amendments considered for it? That's all the fines and...
Yeah, because as far as, so if you're talking about if they do a parade without our approval, is that what you're more looking for?
No, I'm just wondering when the last time this schedule had been looked over and seeing if anything needed to be amended, I guess.
So basically, the traffic bylaw itself, right now is on par for next year to be reviewed, because we're looking at also the whole bikes, e-scooters, e-bikes, all of that stuff. So at this point, we didn't really look at amending the whole bylaw, just because we're just doing administrative wording change. So that's why we went with the recommendation of amendment, not a full-out review and repeal.
Yeah, and the reason why I say that, I was just kind of going through some of the fees and charges, and I look here, if they pay the fine on graffiti, it's $115. Well, I'm guessing that the cost to the city is going to be more than that, or even damage to painted lines is a $39 fine. Well, I'm going to guess that the cost of the city is more than $39.
Especially if Gabby's paying.
Yes, if she...
And it's a good catch. Actually, there's some other, we're going another route as well as expanding our CPO authorities. So some of that would be Highway Development Act. So that would allow us to do actual fines and chargebacks. So it's a different process, and probably a better process to go that way.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Anything further? Ready for the question? Those in favor? Carried unanimously.
I move that City Council gives second reading to the amending traffic bylaw 2036-23.
Moved by Councillor Aberley. Any discussion? Comments, questions, concerns? Ready for the question? Those in favor? Carried. Excuse me, carried unanimously.
I move that City Council gives unanimous consent to go to third reading of the amending traffic bylaw 2036-23.
Moved by Councillor Aberley. Any discussion? Ready for the question? Those in favor? Carried unanimously.
And I move that City Council gives third and final reading to the amending traffic bylaw 2036-23.
Moved by Councillor Aberley. Any discussion? Ready for the question? Those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Looking for a motion to go into closed session. Councillor Blatz, those in favor? Carried unanimously.
Patio.
All right, looking for a motion to come out of closed session, please. Councillor Blatz, those in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 15, new business. Sorry. Oh, yeah, I can, sure. Have you provided a motion for Juanita? Okay. I thought we were just going to add it to new business, but that works better. Coming out of closed session, we have a motion if council would like to make it. Councillor Blatz.
I move that City Council directs administration to proceed with option 3 as per the presentation received during the closed session portion of the meeting on June 12, 2023.
Moved by Councillor Blatz. Any discussion? We're ready for the question. Those in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 15, new business. There's one item I would like to have added, and it is deeming the, I think it's 168 Garwood Crescent as surplus, but I'll confirm that address, sorry. Yeah, deeming 168 Garwood Crescent as surplus property. So that will be 15C if approved. Anything else for new business?
Didn't we already approve that?
We accepted his information.
But, okay, I already had it down as being 15C.
No.
Okay.
To the addition to the new business of adding 168 Garwood Crescent as surplus property, those in favor? Carried, thank you. (15A) we had as Manluck Aquatic Landscaping.
Thank you. As everyone probably knows, this past weekend, the Wetaskiwin Health Foundation hosted a triathlon which was staged out of the aquatic center. The outside of the entrance, the I'm going to call it softscape, was overgrown, unattended, and looked like an embarrassment in my opinion. I know that we don't have the number of summer students on that we would normally have on. Administration has commented that in some areas we're understaffed. And I also know that that area has been cleaned up 3 times in the past 4 years by a volunteer group. And they were in again and cleaned up on the weekend, at least part of it. But it seems to be an ongoing problem, and in my mind, either we don't have enough staff to tend to some of these areas, or the area is not on a regular maintenance schedule, perhaps, I don't know. But I would like to move that council directs administration to investigate the costs associated with the removal of the existing softscaping on either side of the Manluck Pool and replace it with hardscaping and benches. I think the area, I think that change would assist parks in terms of not having what I perceive should be an ongoing, regular watering and maintenance schedule. I think we can still dress up the entrance with some flower pots that can come and go seasonally. And with the exception of a little bit of watering, then you wouldn't have it looking the way it does on such a regular basis. So that is the reason for my motion at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Can you pull the motion up?
Sorry?
I just need the motion. Perfect.
Repeat it. I would like to move that council directs administration to investigate the costs associated with the removal of existing investigate the costs associated with the removal of existing softscaping
and replace it with hardscape and benches.
Moved by Councillor Nielsen. Go ahead, Councillor Billingsley.
Thank you. In your motion, we don't have any specific location, which I'm okay with, in the sense that you spoke about the aquatic center, or Manluck Center, but I also was at By the Lake Park and noticed something very similar. And I'm wondering if, as a policy or whatever it may be, that maybe we take a look at more than just the Manluck Center as far as doing to this, because then it would be less staff at other locations as well. And
I suspect from an email we received from Councillor Elliott a week or so ago with regard to some of your concerns, it would be apparent that there's some concern generally about how we're maintaining some of our grounds, period. That's what you're saying? Councillor Billingsley?
yeah, in other words, I don't think what you had worked on this weekend was unique. And I'm not laying blame on administration. There's only so many hours in the day and so many staff, right? And if it becomes that we can't take care of it all, then maybe we should have something different there, unless we want to pour more money into it or more resources.
Yeah. I don't know how to comment, because I'm looking quite specifically at hardscaping as opposed to.
Can you define hardscaping?
Asphalt or concrete, and as opposed to gravel and or dirt and or shrubs and or trees and or green things that don't get looked after or aren't getting looked after.
But your motion does not have a specific location.
Oh, you're right. Good call. Good catch.
And I'm okay with that.
I'm not.
You can clarify your motion.
I would like to, please.
I would just say
At
after
the Manluck Aquatic
benches,
Entry.
at the front entry of the Manluck Aquatic
Thank you.
facility.
Thank you.
Councillor Aberley.
Thank you, Mayor Gandam. Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen and Council, I will not vote in favor of this, not because I disagree with the intent of the motion, but because I'm not convinced that hardscaping is the only answer. I would like to see alternatives to things like juniper trees that we know continue to have problems in Alberta winters. There could be other alternatives on greenery that require less water, don't have the problems that evergreens have, and perhaps we're going into xeriscaping around those areas.
Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 2 comments. Number 1, if I remember correctly, the landscaping that was done in front of the Manluck Center was donated by the Rotary Club. So I think we would have to look at something like that. And further to Councillor Aberley, maybe we could just have our staff say there's a more efficient way of doing this requiring less maintenance in some of our different aspects of our community, and make those suggestions, and then we could have, if we're short of staff, we would be still as efficient as we are at this point in time. Thank you.
Thank you. When would you like the information brought back to you, Councillor Nielsen?
Well, because the area is already cleaned up, at least for the short term, or part of it is, I suspect it would last a while before it need more attention, although it does need water. In time for budget deliberation.
Does that work for administration? Okay. So at our September 25th meeting,
That would be fine, thank you.
you don't, Juanita, it doesn't have to say in time for budget deliberations, just have it brought back for the September 25th meeting, please. Perfect, thank you. Councillor Aberley,
May I make an amendment?
you can try.
I would like to amend adding with hardscaping or xeriscaping and benches at the front entry. And I say that because I am in favor of replacing the items that are there. I do think that they are wrong. Or not wrong, that's not what I mean, I'm sorry. That they are higher maintenance than need to be, and perhaps it would be costs associated with removing the current softscaping and replacing it with either hardscaping and benches or something that is more relate to xeriscaping.
Thank you. To the amendment, Councillor Billingsley. Councillor Billingsley, or sorry, Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Why don't we just have, instead of removal, that we look at alternative landscaping possibilities for these different facilities, and then maybe removal is one of the things, or maybe it's not, and maybe it's supplementing them with some other kinds of landscaping materials.
Councillor Blatz.
Through the chair to Councillor Aberley, I'm learning a lot of new terms today. So what is the difference between xeriscaping and hardscaping?
Xeriscaping is low water needs. It could include things like gravel, it could include things like that, but it's often trees, more native plants, looking into items that require less water.
So hardscaping is more of like no plants, and xeriscaping is more of plants that require less water? Okay, cool, thank you.
Can you just be clear on your amendment, please?
Yes, I would like to have it, if I go replace it with hardscaping or xeriscaping, it's Xeri. It's not zero. Yeah, Xeri, and then scaping is the word. And benches. It was just adding that word.
Okay. Anything further to the amendment? Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Original motion on the floor, Councillor Billingsley.
Thank you. Since this will not be coming back till September, I guess my question then would be to administration. If we looked at other locations or wherever this problems arise, would that give enough time, whether it's by the lake park or the entrances to the city, to take a look? Would there be enough time to be able to do this kind of as a case study, or whatever you want to call it, to be brought back to us, and what the budget would look like at that point?
Through the chair to Councillor Billingsley, do you mean like an entire level of service review?
Of
the parks?
Yeah, well.
There's several directions that we've given the department right now that I think still need to be completed. And then we could look at what they're doing, how many staff it requires as part of the service level review of the department, but we're not quite there yet.
Okay. It's just that, like I say, I'm not discounting that, but that's one of a few that are having this type of problem. And I guess if we take care of one, that's great, but we're not solving the entire problem.
I think you could also bring that forward as a business case for budget.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything further? We're ready for the question. Those in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 15B, council transparency.
Thank you. I guess just a couple of thoughts here to begin with. No, let me start. Through the chair to Sue. How is it decided what gets presented to the public following a council meeting, given that we have limited press coverage? Like, for example, following the last council meeting, there was a press release regarding social media policy for council. So, like, how is it decided, because we covered a number of topics, how is it decided what we put out and what we leave to the media to cover? And how are we making sure that our public is understanding what we're doing?
Through the chair to Councillor Nielsen. So as part of the RFD creation for council, there is a communication section. Anyone preparing that, so using the example of the council social media policy, it was clicked off that there was going to be a press release provided to the public as part of that request for decision to council. So that is kind of the process, and then it goes through, in that example, myself and Sue to approve that RFD to go to council. And then other pieces as well, just through communications attending council, will kind of look at it and judge each item presented to understand if they think that the community would benefit from receiving that information. As you did mention, there is very little picked up from the newspaper and other press. So typically, if there's something that we want to get out, we would typically write a press release for that.
Okay. Now, part of the reason for my question, I guess, is we had a presentation today as it relates to public engagement and a concern that we don't get enough people out to engage with us. And I wonder if there is a connection between lack of interest and lack of information. And so, for example, like, I have no idea how the social media policy is going to impact the general resident in our community. But we had a taxation discussion and decision that I think many people in our community would have been interested in hearing the deliberation, the conversation, the rationale, and the ultimate decision in terms of ensuring that certain portions of what we as a council are planning on behalf of the residents, why that decision was made in relation to serving the community. And I called acting CAO at the time and was informed that there would be a presser coming out on that, or was being worked on or whatever, and I've not seen anything about that. So all I'm wondering about is the transparency piece. We've got taxation being discussed, but unless somebody picked it up, it didn't get out. And I suspect there's other elements over the course of time that we could have or should have or might have or whatever made available to the public.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Nielsen, that press release should have gone out last week. We did do the final approvals on it. That one just takes a little bit longer because there's a lot more that goes into the taxation press release than a council social media policy would have, and a lot more people have to approve it. So that should have gone out last week. We will just confirm that it has.
Okay, no, that's fine.
But I think we had, from that one council meeting, we had 4 or 5 press releases that went out. Sometimes the ones that get approved first will be released. It's not necessarily in order of priority to the public. But in terms of that specific press release, I do know we link back to the video, we link back to the reasons why. We had a quote from Mayor Gandam in it as well, on the impacts of the community. So.
Okay, and I thank you for that. I just, as I said before, I wonder if there's a connection between community engagement and perhaps lack of information. And I'm not faulting anybody. I'm just raising a concern in my brain. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the chair to all of council, when an RFD comes forward, if there's anything in there that you disagree with our interpretation on, we're more than happy to make those changes, right? So if it comes in and you see that there's not a press release and you think that it should be, bring that up during the discussion and we can change those as council sees fit.
You say in the discussion, like at the time we're talking about it?
Right, so each RFD will do a presentation and then council has the opportunity to change a motion, speak to something that's happening in there. So if you disagree with next steps or the communication strategy that we've chosen, we're open to hearing from council.
And so what would happen there, Sue, in relation to topic X? And through the conversation and the decision, I suggest that it should be part of a press release to the public. Do we then make a motion to that effect?
Yeah, so, well, I mean, it really depends on the RFD. So I'll use the one that I did today for the council schedule and process. In there, it talks about a communication strategy. At that point, if you say, I disagree with your process, we want to change it, then we can amend the motion. I know a lot of times the motions are very specific to a direct task or direction from council, but anything in the RFD is fair game. So if council decides that they want to talk about any part of that and either challenge it or make a change to it, then I think it becomes a part of the discussion. We could easily change communication strategy.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city used to have council updates in the newspapers, but the cost became prohibitive because I think it was $600 a week or something like that. So then the council chose not to, but the mayor is putting out an update on council on his Facebook page. We also have a Facebook page, and then people have access to our YouTube as well, correct? Mm-hmm. So, and then I guess we can't tell the press what we'd like them to highlight. That's not our job. So I guess we just have to go with trust our staff that they are sharing what is important for our community.
Yeah, and I think that we've had the opportunity to share with our press things that we would like highlighted, and I think the press has been good at highlighting those items as well too. It goes back to having a good relationship with our local newspapers, and I think that we've had that and had the opportunity to make sure that some of the stuff that we would like out there gets out there and is covered.
I'm good, thank you.
That's it, okay. Item 15C, deeming 168 Garwood Crescent as surplus property. I would like to see us be able to sell that lot for residential development, and because it's not municipal, well, it would be municipal reserve, so it would have to go back to a park anyways.
To the chair, there's a whole process for deeming surplus property, so I think if you can keep the motion.
Direct administration to
investigate.
Yeah.
And then we'll bring it back at the September council meeting. We can bring it back the first September council
Sure.
meeting.
Or, I mean, October is fine too.
Okay.
If we're piling on, let's go first meeting in October, but just bringing back the processor information on deeming 168 Garwood Crescent as surplus property.
So
I will just let Juanita
I'm
finish
sorry,
the motion.
okay.
Yeah, that's okay. If you start talking, I'll forget what I was saying too.
But now I forgot.
Perfect. Go ahead, Councillor Elliott.
What about the other property?
It has a stormwater main underneath it.
Yes.
So I think it would be cost prohibitive, or even just
So
the ability.
Could we look into that as maybe a community garden? We don't have any community gardens on that side of our community.
There could be. You could come bring that as a motion of council.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Billingsley.
Thank you. Through the chair to the chair, what is your end goal here? Is it to take the monies from the Garwood Crescent property and put it into the park that's there?
The park that's there or other parks, depending on, I don't know how much it would cost to do an overhaul on the park that's there. And if there was extra monies available to upgrade or update some of the other parks around town.
And has it been identified by administration that parks are in need of, including this park, of work? In other words, do we even know for sure, that we need to spend money on our parks? Has that been identified?
I've seen that as an identification that I would like to see some improvement to some of our park space.
Is that, I don't recall seeing any reports on that.
It's not a report. It's my observation that I think that if we can sell a lot and not take money out of reserves or have to fundraise or raise taxes to improve our parks and our recreation spaces, that I'd like to take that opportunity. Anything further? The motion is getting information back on the process for deeming 168 Garwood Crescent as surplus property. This isn't deeming 168 Garwood Crescent as surplus property. Anything further? Ready for the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Anything else from administration? All right. Meeting adjourned at 11:26.